and I'm here with a layout for Pink Paisley today. I have a little bit of the new Whimsical collection from Paige Evans in my hands. I just have the papers, the rub-ons, the puffy stickers, and the charms for now. I'm hoping to get the rest of it in the mail soon, but I just couldn't wait to play with it, and so I'm going to go ahead and use it anyway. And I thought this would be a good way to show you how, even if you only get a few bits and pieces from the collection, how far you can make it stretch. So I am going, I kind of chose what I wanted to scrapbook about based on some of the elements that are in this collection, and I really love the painting kind of icons. If you follow my YouTube channel, then you probably have seen that I've taken up watercoloring lately. I just made a layout about it, but I went to a paint night with my daughter, and I have some pictures from that match this collection really well. It's just bright and fun colors, and so I thought I would use, I'm not going to use all these photos, I'm going to choose a couple, but then play up the elements of paint as well as some flowers. So that's where I'm going to start. I will do a share video of the collection as soon as I have it all, but for now I'm just going to work with these papers that I pulled and this cut file, which is by Paige, and it's in the Silhouette Design Store. I will link to it in the video description, as well as all of the other products that I use. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so to get started, I'm kind of flipping through my papers and deciding which ones I'm going to want to cut up. Now, because this is a new paper collection, I want to use all the things, so I'm going to struggle a bit to decide what I want to use, and this layout ends up with a lot of stuff on it, but I think it's fun anyway. So, sorry I'm a little bit off camera right there. What I'm starting with is the cut file, and I'm trying to decide how I would arrange my photos around the cut file, and I'm kind of struggling a little bit because the photos feel really square compared to it, and I have several of them, so I'm not quite sure what to do. So I decided to start cutting out the flowers because I know I want to do that. So I cut up that whole entire paper, and now I am going to figure out what I want for my title. So I know I want to put my title in the center of the banner, and I decided to pull out these stickers from it's Paige's previous collection. What is it called? All of a sudden I can't remember, but I haven't used these thickers at all. It's hard for me a little bit to use this style of thicker, and also multicolored thickers are a little bit tricky, but this was the perfect layout for this, and I'm using the title Color My World. The word my is coming from the little tiny foam thickers from the Auburn Lane collection. There are some coming out with this Whimsical collection that are rainbow colored, and I'm so excited for them. But in the meantime, I'm using these gold ones, and I think they're super cute. And I want those thickers in all the colors. So hopefully someday maybe that will happen. But at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I know I'm going to want to pop up that frame. So I'm going to cut up some foam tape, and that's from Close to My Heart. It's just a really thin foam tape, and because it's thin, it's easy to kind of bend. I saved you from watching me put all of that on the back of the cut file because it's a little bit tedious, but I didn't put it on the flower parts, just on the banner part. So now what I'm doing is I've decided that to make my photos look good with this, because it's florals are so, they're not structured, right? They're more whimsical and fluid, and I was feeling like my square photos were really not going with it, and so I decided to cut them into circles. So I used some punches and some dies to cut out my photos, and I'm going to arrange them like this around the banner. And then at this point I'm kind of thinking I need to put the center of the banner back in because I need my title to pop against the white. And so I decide to just kind of rest it in there, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking, yes, I like that. And I am going to cut off the bottom of this strip of paper. Now I love that there's so many of these ombre backgrounds in the collection, in the Whimsical collection. They are so perfect for backgrounds, and there are a bunch of different colors. So I think there's purple, pink, aqua, maybe there's a yellow one. Anyway, so I'm just going to center this center this banner, and then get started on things, because oh my gosh, sorry about my crazy hair there. But that's the one thing I do know that I want is that banner, and I don't get it centered, so I pull it up, and I'm going to save you from watching that because it was hard. And I decided that instead of putting it down first, I would put down the center of the banner first, and that would help me line it up exactly how I wanted it to be. Now, I didn't pop up the center of the banner, so it's slightly lower than the outside banner, and I really like that. You can't really tell much in the video, but in real life it looks nice. I like it. So I'm just kind of laying my title down, trying to figure out how exactly I want it to go. I kind of like the idea of the word color starting at the beginning of the banner on the top and the word world ending at the bottom of the banner on the right. And so they just kind of meet in the middle, and I'll put the word my in later. But at this point, I'm thinking about how I want to add the flowers. And this is what most of the layout is, me kind of fiddling with these flowers, trying to figure out where things go. And, I kind of, at this point, right now when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking I could have just added a few flowers like this, and it would have made an impact, but been a little bit less chaotic than what I ended up with. And if I stop right here, maybe adding a few more leaves on the bottom, it would look really nice. But I did not, and that's okay. I think that this could be, if you didn't put photos on it, this would be a cute little thing to frame if you wanted to put a quote in the middle of that banner and put a bunch of flowers around it. I think that would be cute. But right now I'm trying to figure out how to balance my photos. The top photo is really white and the bottom two aren't. I don't know if I didn't edit the bottom two or what, but they're already printed and I'm just going to use them, and it will end up just fine. So I'm kind of playing around with how I want to lay the flowers around the photos, and I'm going to move them again because I'm not liking the balance going on here. I feel like it's bottom heavy, or I don't know, it's kind of bugging me. But I do pull out the, I keep wanting to call them rubber, but they're not. They're puffy stickers. They are kind of rubbery. Anyway, I pulled out the, one of the paintbrush, oh my goodness, words, guys. Okay, I pulled out the paintbrush, I keep wanting to say rubber sticker. It's a puffy sticker, and I'm going to use that next to my title, kind of as if I'm painting the color in Color My World. And then I'm cutting up some pieces from this cut apart sheet. It's paper number 1, I think. And I just punched a circle out that says feeling crafty. And then I'm cutting up this little phrase, and I don't end up using it actually, but it is very cute. And I saw that some of the other design team members have used that. It's just it's a rainbow, and it's just adorable. There are these little circles that are perfect for a 1-inch circle punch on that paper as well. And so I punched them all out, and I will use a couple of them here. And then I'm also cutting out this paper, which has a bunch of phrases on it. There are a couple papers with a ton of phrases on it that you could cut out. So you know what? I only have the papers and a couple of the embellishments for this collection so far, but you can do so much with just the papers because there are so many things that you can cut out and use as embellishment. So I definitely recommend, if you maybe can't afford to get the whole collection, or if you just want a couple pieces, definitely get those papers that you can cut up and use as embellishment, because they will take you far. And in fact, because I'm on the design team and I get multiples of the papers, I just went ahead and cut out the entire paper for those papers that are that you can cut up like that, because I just know that's how I'm going to use them. So anyway, at this point, I've kind of decided to put the photos 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom, and I'm going to pop them up because they are going to get a little bit lost in the array of flowers, but in this case, I'm kind of okay with it. I think that the top photo where me and my daughter are actually in it does still pop out, and then the other ones are just kind of supporting, and so it's not as big of a deal to me if they don't show up as much. But I did put a little white background on them to help them pop a little bit more too. So I'm just putting some fun foam on the back of these. I like to buy the kind that has adhesive on one side, and then I can just add adhesive to the back of it when I'm ready to stick it onto the layout. And I really like that American Crafts Mega Runner. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I'll link to it if I can remember in the video description. But I really like that as a, it goes well on the foam. I also recently just got some of the scrapbook.com adhesive, runners, and I really like those as well. So you'll be seeing me use those in future videos, and they work well on the back of the foam too, and they're a dot runner, which is nice. Okay, so you can see I pulled everything off because I'm thinking about how I want to arrange. I'm kind of thinking before I add the flowers, they're like the finishing detail. Before I add the flowers, I need to figure out what the actual structure of the layout is. So I put the circles on there, and then you can see I have a couple of the punched circles as well. And now I decide it's okay for me to start putting the flowers on. So I'm just going to start gluing them down. Some of them I'm popping up, some of them I'm just laying down flat, and I'm just putting adhesive in the centers so I can kind of tuck everything around them. And I sped this part up a little bit more because, like I said, most of this layout is me kind of playing around with the flowers and trying to figure out how I want to put them in here. I wanted to make sure that there were, like, the colors were balanced, and also there's two kinds of leaves. There's like a greenish one and an aqua colored leaf, and I wanted to make sure there was kind of an even distribution of that. And then there are different styles of flowers, and so I wanted to make sure I had a few of each style all the way around. And so I really took a while to kind of play with things, and I layered some underneath the cut file and some of them go on top. So the cut file just peeks through a little bit. It was kind of like my template and my guide for where to put some of the flowers, but ultimately you don't see the whole thing, which I think is okay. As I mentioned before, I think it would have looked great if I would have stopped with the flowers, like if I put less on, but I didn't, and I still like the way it turned out. It's just, it didn't end up how I thought it would. And that's okay, right? That happens a lot, actually. So you can also see that some of the flowers I'm overlaying so that they cross over onto the actual banner part where the words are. And I'm just having them kind of overlay, but I'm leaving the ends of the banner fairly open because I don't want you to lose the idea that it is a banner. So even though there's open spaces on the right and left sides, I don't want to cover those up. And I definitely want you to still know that this is a big banner. So I'm being aware of that. And then I'm using the little yellow flowers as kind of a pop around in the different places. So I kind of added those little yellow flowers last. I think it's a good idea when you're doing something like this to start with the larger flowers and then fill in with the smaller flowers. I had a part on that banner that wasn't quite lining up right, and so I just made sure I placed a flower over that portion because I didn't want you to see that. So at this point, I'm thinking something that will help this kind of stand out and look kind of fun is to add some watercolor on the banner. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a rainbow of colors, and I'm just using some it's a variety of, I think it's Prima and Jane Davenport watercolors, and I've just mixed them together in one, like I've shoved them all into one little palette here. But I'm just basically going from pink to orange to yellow, like trying to match the colors that my flowers are, and I'm just going around the outside of the banner and painting in that little rainbow. And I think this really helps the banner it stands out, but it doesn't overtake anything. I don't know. I think this really helps things because it felt really stark in the middle of all those flowers, and now it has just a little bit of color without, again, overpowering anything, without being too much added. And so this would have been nice if I would have known I was going to do this before I glued it all down, but I didn't, and that's cool. And it's easy to just kind of shove my paintbrush up in there. I'm using a water brush, a Tim Holtz water brush, which is really nice to have, especially for scrapbooking. And I am painting the centers of those as well. So I really love what that does to the layout. I did get a little bit in that area, but it's okay. I gave a thumbs up because I really like the way it turned out. I'm going to keep those watercolors out in case I decide that I want to add them anywhere else. And I am going to keep adding a few more flowers, and I'm popping some of them up. And I'm trying to decide how I want to fill up the rest of this right-hand side. And like I mentioned, just a lot of going through the flowers and going through the different embellishments and trying to decide what goes where. And most of this layout was just kind of playing around with the flower placement. So it was a fun process. But
but it did take me a while. So I sped this up quite a lot, and the video is still 26 minutes, so you can kind of guess there. But if I feel like if it's enjoyable, it doesn't matter how long it takes me. So when you're creating and when you're scrapbooking, do what's enjoyable for you. If it's enjoyable for you to get a lot of pages done quickly, then you can keep things more simple. If it's about the process for you, then let yourself get lost in it. And that's kind of what I did here. And sometimes there's different reasons why I make a layout. Sometimes I do want to get it done quickly, or sometimes there's a really important story I want to tell. So I really focus on that part and less on the embellishing and design of the layout. And then in this case, like I mentioned, I had just gotten this new Whimsical collection and I wanted to play. So I definitely just let myself take the time and kind of play around with things. So at this point, I'm kind of thinking about adding stuff. Now you can see that little, I'm putting at the top of that photo, there's a Puffy sticker that is scalloped, and I kind of curved it around the top of the photo, and I like the way it kind of makes that photo look like a flower in like amongst the rest of the flowers. And I'm adding a few Puffy stickers just here and there. There's a couple of leaves that I add at first, but I'll end up taking off because they don't add enough for you to really notice them. If there were more and I could add more around the flowers, then it might have worked, but there were only 2, so I will take them off so I can use them on something else where they'll actually make more of an impact. I am going to use the paint brushes and the little paint tubes that are in the Puffy stickers because this is, of course, the perfect layout for it, and I don't know when I'll use it again. So I'm just trying to figure out how I want to arrange the little paint tubes. And I like the way that I overlapped the paint brushes over on the right-hand side, and I'm going to end up putting the paint tubes on the left and one on the right, I believe. I'm pulling out the rub-ons because I think I'm going to use that other scalloped, there's a scallop in the rub-ons, but I decide against it. And at this point I'm thinking this layout feels like it needs some more white, so I decide to cut it down the layout and add it to a white background. Like looking at it now, I think it was probably fine the way it was, but you know how sometimes you're looking at things and you're thinking it's not right. So that's how I was feeling. I'm lifting up some of the embellishments a little bit so that I can make this look more intentional, because if I were to create this where I created this band in the first place, I would have overlapped some of the embellishments and photos so that they went onto the white. And so I just wanted to cut it down a little bit smaller than the items that were on that pink ombre part so that it looked more intentional. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down to the center, and then the parts that I cut off, I'm using the light part from the top and putting it underneath the bottom as a border, and using the dark part from the bottom and putting it underneath as a border on the top. And I kind of like that effect. It's subtle, but it gives a little bit of a break between the white and the pink, and I really like it. So I added that scallop back to the top photo, and then I remembered that I punched out a circle from the center of this little piece of the cut apart sheet, which you can't see because I'm cutting it kind of off camera, but it has scallops on it. So I cut out the scallops, and they're paper and they're a little bit smaller than the photo, but because you can cut them up and because it's so thin, you can kind of bend it around the photos. And so I put one around the bottom photo and one around the top photo, and now all 3 of those photos have the scallops around them, and they kind of look like flowers in the little floral cluster. And with the main photo having the puffy one that's a little bit more saturated and vibrant, and it sticks out a little bit more because it's a puffy sticker. So I really like the way that turned out. I'm just using my Scotch Quick Dry adhesive to glue those little pieces down. I really like that fine line bottle because it gives you a fine line of adhesive. I'm putting some more foam adhesive on the back of this circle. And I think I put it on the back of the circle at the bottom too. Maybe not. I can't remember. Anyway, there are a couple of butterflies in that floral paper that I cut out as well, and I'm going to sprinkle those around on the layout too. I thought it would be nice to balance the 2 small puffy sticker paint brushes on the right with a larger one on the left, and that's just cut out from another one of the papers. And so I'm going to add that here in just a second. I'm adding some little tiny leaves that I had cut from the paper and decided not to use, but I liked the detail that they added, and so I ended up adding them anyway. So this Puffy sticker, I'm not exactly sure where I want to put it yet. I'm kind of moving it around, but I will find a place for that in a bit. I wanted to put some of these word strips. Now, here's where I think, like, I just wanted to keep playing, so I just kept adding stuff, and I could have been done here too. So there's a couple points on this layout that you could have called it quits, but I kept going because, you know, more is more sometimes. Anyway, so I'm just cutting up this pattern paper that has the little word strips on it, and I'm going to sprinkle these word strips throughout the floral bits just for some words. I like to have word strips, and I like the way it kind of breaks things up a little bit. And so I have one at the top right now and then two at the bottom, and I will add a few more things as well. I'm bringing back those little paint tubes because I'm thinking, like, this is really the layout where they need to live, because this is a painty layout. And so I'm sorry about my hair again. It's seriously crazy, out of control. If you follow me on Instagram, maybe you've seen some of my bedhead photos. I have wicked bedhead, and I'm pretty sure that I had bedhead in this video because I didn't do my hair. So there I've added those tubes of paint, and I added the purple tube next to that purple paintbrush, and I'm going to add these little butterflies now. I'm just putting glue down the center of the butterfly so I can lift the wings up a little bit, and I put one at the top by those photos and that little circle that I punched out, and then one on the left, and I'll put one, I can't remember where I put another one, maybe I don't. I put the little butterflies all around as well. And now I'm just trying to figure out if I need to add anything else, which I definitely don't need to add anything else, but I'm going to. So what I'm going to do is take the rub-ons. I wanted to use all the things, you guys. I really, really did. And so I'm taking the rub-ons, and there are all of these little stitches on the rub-on sheet. And there's usually something like this in Paige's collections because she's, you know, she stitches stuff. And so there are a rainbow of these zigzag stitches. And so I decide to, at the top, I'm starting with, I can't remember if I started with pink. I can't really tell from looking at this video right now, but I just did it in rainbow order. And so it kind of went from red to orange to yellow to green to blue to purple. I think that's how I ended up doing it. And so at the top, I did that, and then I continued it on the bottom. So it's just on the top left and the bottom right. And I'm just rubbing those on with my fingernail. These come off really easily, especially when rub-ons are new and fresh, they work well. So use them while they're fresh, because someday they will not work anymore probably. So I'm just using my fingernail to rub those down, and yep, just lining them up, doing all of the colors. And I do end up putting a little bit of the stitching on the left hand side of that heart circle and on the right hand side of the photo at the top, just because I like it when things intersect, and so it helps things feel more cohesive, like they belong. I say those kinds of things a lot, but I think it's important. It's something that is integral to my design. So now I'm roughing up the edges of the papers just for a little bit of interest, and because I'm too lazy to get out my sewing machine, I'm just roughing those edges up, and I like the little peak of the dark blue behind it. At this point, I'm kind of trying to decide if I want to add a puffy sticker on top of that heart. It's the same exact heart, but I decide against it, and I'm going to add that butterfly so that I have 3 now. So 2 next to the photos and then 1 to the right, to the left of the title. And I'm going to go ahead and add my journaling. I don't want to take away from the design at this point, and I don't want to add anything extra because it's going to be too much. And so I'm going to do my journaling on the top and the bottom, just in a line. And this is something that Paige does a lot too, where she'll just kind of integrate the journaling into the design of the layout. And so that's what I've done here. And I'm just talking about our little paint night and how much fun we had, and how Malia is a cute little artist, and that I hope that we can do something like this again sometime. And just using my black pen there, and I'm going to stamp the date at the end because I had a little space. And so I'll go ahead and stamp that with I have this little mini roller date stamp, and that was just enough space for me to stamp my date. And I just did it in black, so it kind of went along with the journaling. And now I am going to look through my flowers again because I feel like I need something else in here. And you'll notice that I didn't use the green flowers. I felt like the greenery in the leaves was enough. And so I'll use those green flowers on another layout. But I'm just feeling like there's a little empty space over on the right, and on the left it's really full. So I just wanted to add a little bit something more. More is more is more is more. And I'm going to add some gold Heidi Swap color shine because it's how I do, and there's only gold in the word my right now, and so I felt like it needed a little bit more, so I sprinkle that on, and then that is going to complete this layout. I hope that you've enjoyed. As always, I will link to all the products I used in the video description if they're available. Check out the new Whimsical collection. It is so cute. I can't wait to get my hands on the rest of it. And you can find out more on the blog post at pinkpaislee.com and also find these photos over there as well. I hope that you have enjoyed. If you're not a subscriber already, go ahead and click that button and subscribe. Here are a couple more videos that I've done recently for Pink Paislee that you might enjoy. I hope that you have a wonderful day and happy crafting.